welcome to Bucketsblog. This is the first ever Bucketsblog podcast that we're doing. My name's David Angelini. I have with me Gavin Callander.
You.
And also have with me Ryan Docherty.
Hi guys.
We're just a few friends who like to talk about basketball. And while we have quite good debate, you know, we back up with real evidence, real points, and have actually some quite good debate. And I thought we all thought actually that we should record this and start putting it out there as well.
And we also need people to tell us where we're going very wrong.
Yeah, because we've gotten into a kind of a habit of we know how each other argue now. We know we're in the habit of each other's pattern of
the
debate.
friend zone, shall we say?
The friend zone. So people will be coming and going at different times, and we'll talk about different things. Also, I'm a big fan of First Take and Grantland Basketball and Bill Don't Lie and those kind of podcasts as well. And we've always been watching them and thinking, I can do that. I can do that kind of debate. We have quality debate like that. So we're going to start doing podcasts. It's also a bit more accessible in terms of Bucketsblog than the long-winded stuff that I like to write. It's not always something that people go in for or take the time to do. So I think this is far more accessible to get our opinions out there. So the first ever Bucketsblog
Topic of conversation.
The first ever podcast that we're going to do is the end of season awards for the 2015 season, and we're going to start off with the one that I think's probably the least interesting. Not because I don't appreciate defence, mind you, I just think there's absolutely no contest for this award, and it's the Defensive Player of the Year. And I think it's Anthony Davis. I think Anthony Davis is the absolute runaway winner of this award. And I think these guys agree with me. Yeah.
Well, to be fair, yeah, there's only one winner here, guys. The only thing I would say is there are other people who deserve a mention, but it's only in terms of our all defence team.
Yeah, we'll run through all our candidates, but the consensus is that it's Anthony Davis.
You've got to say someone averaging pretty much 3 blocks per game has to be your Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
That is just outstanding numbers.
1.5 steals for a power forward as well.
That's pretty good numbers. But there's some awards where the criteria for winning the award's pretty clean cut, and there's some awards where it's a bit more ambiguous. But for Defensive Player of the Year, you have to be on a top 10 defence, a standout defensive player on a top 10 defence. And I think I haven't done my research really, but all these guys make the cut. I'm pretty sure. And even if Anthony Davis didn't, there's nobody you can say that.
Well, that's the thing. I'm not sure that Anthony Davis is in a top 10 defence. However, the omission of Anthony Davis from the Pelicans
would be egregious.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking, not only offensively but defensively. Even if you still had his offense, they'd still be sitting way down the conference standings.
Yeah, you're talking very similar kind of levels as the Sixers almost. That's how bad that team would be without Anthony Davis's offense and his defense, mainly his D though.
Okay, I mean, he's the runaway candidate for me. The other kind of people you want to take into account of it though are Kawhi Leonard, who hasn't played up to the standard, his Finals MVP standard for this season. He's been injured in and out of the lineup a little bit as well, but he just hasn't I think played his way out of max money that he would have got if they had paid him last year. I don't think he'll get that at this point.
Personally, last season I don't think he should have been the Finals MVP. Timmy should have got that. And
Ryan would know because he was a Heat fan and they absolutely destroyed the Heat.
I watched it. I thought Kawhi was unreal. He shut down LeBron James, who is still, in my opinion, the most talented player. I'm not a LeBron fan, but he's still the most talented player in the league. Kawhi shut him down.
I'm also a LeBron cynic, but we've got Ryan here who is a LeBron James fan.
Fanboy.
Yes. I've been, always will be. Not changing my mind.
So
he's got his face tattooed on his bum.
Just so we've got a balance. Other candidates: Draymond Green and Tony Allen. Draymond Green, part of the really actually pretty supreme defence for the
number
Golden
one
State
ranking.
Yep, and they're a good defence. Draymond Green's a key part of that. Tony Allen's been, he's just perennially a great defensive player. He doesn't seem to age. He doesn't seem to age in terms of who he can shut down. He's their stopper.
Can I stick in my favourite?
Who's your
my favourite second place? DeAndre the Giant from the LA Clippers.
DeAndre Jordan's a good shout actually that I hadn't
Unreal.
written down. Doc made his whole song and dance about how he wasn't, how shocking it was that he wasn't an all-star. Probably deserving of an all-star. Definitely would have been an all-star if he played in the East.
Definitely would have been an all-star if he was better than DeMarcus Cousins.
Yeah. There was some DeMarcus love at the time as well. I think his public image goes up and down actually over.
All-star games for offense though, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah, it's not, you don't. Aye, but yeah, I'd take the point that DeAndre Jordan is quite a vital part of that Clippers D. You made the point actually about
DeAndre Jordan's defense year in year out is that high that is this year better than last year, and if he gets defensive player of the year this year, why didn't he get it last year? And that's the kind of point that,
because Joakim Noah wasn't injured.
Yeah.
The year before Marc Gasol was finally getting the recognition he deserved.
Yeah.
So
it's that kind of thing that stops DeAndre getting that kind of nod and getting in the same kind of category as those four guys that have already been mentioned.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, the Clippers have been coached into a good defense like this year, and it was bound to happen because of Doc Rivers style coaching. But does that take away from DeAndre Jordan his prowess as a defensive player?
If I can just respond to the panelists' comment, if I can just respond to Ryan's comment, I think the thing is this year DeAndre Jordan's taking on an additional burden where when Blake's been injured so much, he's been taking on so much of a scoring burden. He's not just been a case of throw the ball up, DeAndre dunks, although we have still been seeing those highlights. However, I think this year DeAndre's been much more intelligent in the way he defends. He's always going to get blocks. He's 6'11", he's uber athletic. Same as Anthony Davis. The difference is DeAndre's been shutting guys down before they actually get the shot up. Even guys like Zebo, LaMarcus Aldridge have been having a hard time when they go to LA to face those guys.
Yeah. Notables there. There's some guys you have to mention in the debate, but Davis is the runaway. It's a no contest for me. It's Anthony Davis as a defensive player of the year. So
yeah. I mean, we're not. I mean, taking nothing away from Tony Allen, Draymond Green. I love Draymond Green. As you will find out later on. Tony Allen, huge fan of his for years. What age is he? 33 now.
He's getting on, and his defense doesn't seem to deteriorate at all.
Yeah. Guy's just an animal. Same with Draymond. The two of them are cut from the same cloth. Just hard, just engine guys. They just never
hard-nosed people.
Like
Rough Riders. That's what Stephen A
blue
calls them.
defense. Blue collar D.
But in the end, open shot case, Anthony Davis runs away with it. So the next award we want to talk about is the Rookie of the Year, and I've got three kind of standout candidates noted down for this. It's Nikola Mirotic, Nerlens Noel, and Andrew Wiggins. And for me personally, Nikola Mirotic gets this award, and it's a close one. It's not this definitely isn't as clear cut as the Defensive Player of the Year. But for me, it's Nikola Mirotic, and that's because I'd give Nikola Mirotic the edge over other rookies whose teams can afford to dedicate some more minutes into developing him as a player. Nikola Mirotic has came in because in a sometimes injured Bulls lineup, came in being an impact player, went through a run where he a run of 4 games I think where he was scoring over 20 points a game for a rookie coming off the bench. When you're in a squad that has Joakim Noah, Pau Gasol and Taj Gibson all playing ahead of you, I think that's a really, really notable achievement, and I would always give the nod to a player who manages to accomplish that kind of play in a good team ahead of a player who is getting 48 minutes a game if he wants them, and a team can afford to put that much time into developing him as a player. And he's got all these, he gets the ball all the time, he wants it, he gets to shoot as many shots as he like. Nikola Mirotic has managed to kind of break into a really good team, just take the opportunity on and actually play really, really well. But I don't know what you guys think. We've got
yeah, well, I've got to say Mirotic for me is Rookie of the Year, mainly because he's one of 2 kind of standout rookies who have played their way into a team rather than just being given the free reins of that team. Him and the other one I would kind of mention in that kind of same vein is Elfrid Payton. He's kind of fought his way into a team where he's not been the first option, he's not been the guy in that position. He's found himself in there, but Mirotic is a kind of class, a big class above him. Although not taking anything away from Andrew Wiggins.
Look, I'm going to be honest, right? Starting with Elfrid Payton, the only Payton I would put him in the same class as is Peyton Manning because of how far away from everything else he throws the ball. The other thing I would say is Mirotic's 20-point games, I believe that was 20 points per 36 minutes in a row.
No, this was he went 24, 26 and I think 32 in one game in a run of games he was playing for the Bulls when I think Taj Gibson was injured. he was coming in and playing and being an impact player, and I think it was fourth quarter play as well. It was actually having an impact on the game, and I think in one of those cases contributed quite heavily towards them getting the win.
Right, well, I'm still going to go on my pick. Look, I'm sorry, guys, and I know that all the voters and the journalists who are actually in the know, unlike ourselves, so we'd have vote, it'd be much more interesting. But Andrew Wiggins, Rookie of the Year, 100%. Might have been different, we'll come back to this, injuries have affected this. However, Wiggins came into the league, Wiggins was not ready for the league. Wiggins could probably have done one other year in college, but one and done, that's what you're supposed to do when you're a prodigy, if you will. He's come in defence ready from the get-go, better defender than Mirotic, better offensive player than Mirotic.
His defence does set him apart from any other rookie. Like, he's a quality defender.
Like, unreal. His rebounding, his passing, every single stat across the board per 36 is actually better than Mirotic's.
But that's because no one else on Minnesota can do any of those things.
Yeah, and he gets free rein of the team.
But the thing is, the fact that it is per 36, his pairs higher than Mirotic's.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're out there estimating, for people who don't understand what a PER
player
is.
efficiency rating is basically a judge of a player's overall contribution to a team. So it's not just how many points
based on a 36-minute spread. So if they're not getting a lot of minutes, you can still compare a player who is not getting a lot of minutes to a player who is getting a lot of minutes by.
You can compare John Lucas III of 2008 to LeBron James of 2009, for instance.
Just a way to simplify it and make it a bit more comparable for the purpose of debate. I accept that a bit, but for me, he is doing that on a Minnesota team, which I think they're definitely worst in the West.
Oh, they're the worst overall. However, you look at the team he's got around him. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's got guys in there who can play, who just aren't playing. Kevin Martin.
He's got guys in there that can play, but they're usually injured. Yeah, Peck out for this season.
Peck's out for this season, but Kevin Martin was playing this year. Rubio doesn't matter. Zach LaVine's going to take that position from him. Kevin Martin's an established scorer in the NBA, and he's had to sort of say, look, Wiggins is taking the scoring load. Now, whether that's a coaching decision or not, as a scorer, I would argue that Kevin Martin would still be putting up good numbers.
They're a team though that can afford to put that amount of time and shots into developing him as a talent. No, I don't think Mirotic doesn't get anywhere near the same opportunity for the Bulls, and he's came in and broken into it because there's been a little bit of opportunity around injured teammates that have let him kind of get his nose in. Yeah,
but the fact that Andrew Wiggins has come into the league and everyone kind of thought, look, this guy's going to be a star, this guy's going to be unreal. Him and Jabari, those are the two guys going into the season. Him, Jabari, Embiid as well, right? Embiid. Wiggins is the only guy out of them. Obviously, I've not seen enough of Embiid. I watched him in college and he was unreal. Like,
I think it would have been a different story if he played this season. Possibly.
Yeah. I think it was a different story if Jabari played.
And Jabari Parker looked like he was going to run away with it. I think if he had been healthy the whole season, we'd be having a different conversation.
At the start of the season, Parker was on top.
But at the same time, Wiggins has come back this year, and I was very critical of Wiggins at the start of the season. I thought that for a guy who's getting picked number 1 overall, and I mentioned to you guys earlier, see the shit he had to go through where LeBron James left him out the letter, where all this has happened, where it's like
playing with a chip in his shoulder,
and that's how he's come out. And at the start I think he was a bit raw, but as the season's gone on and he started to get a bit seasoned, essentially. The guy's shown himself to be a real class act, and I can't see past him. Really can't.
Another potential one we might have been talking about had things gone differently, Dante Exum. And when I say when things went differently, I mean
had he been put to the point,
had he not disappeared into the black hole that is the
Utah Jazz.
I'll tell you right now.
Gobert.
I'll tell you right now. The big thing is, see if you had a starting 5 of Dante Exum running the point, Alec Burks at the 2, Gordon Hayward at the 3, Derek Favors at the 4, and Rudy Gobert at the 5. See, in 5 years' time, that's a championship team. Like if they continue on their trajectory.
It's a bold statement.
No, if they continued on their trajectory as a starting 5, that would be one of the best. In 5 years' time, if you put those 5 guys back together, guarantee you that would be a team that would be challenging for a title. Or a playoff berth anyway.
For me, Nikola Mirotic. In fact, one thing we've not mentioned actually is a potential criticism of Nikola Mirotic. he's essentially a veteran. He's not really a rookie because he has played basketball for quite a while. He's been playing in Europe since he was 16. So he's got far more game time under his belt at a competitive level, and I think Wiggins will actually win the award because I think that's the way people are going to vote. And part of that for me is that people don't respect Europe. They don't respect the EuroLeague. They put far more stock in American basketball.
Not just that. It's the numbers he's putting up as well. It is the numbers he's putting up.
And overall,
they do love some good numbers.
Yeah.
I think if you look at Europe, there's been a lot of really good players who've come over. I've in the past, as recently today, been critical of Europe, but you've got guys as well in the rookie race like Nurkic at Denver, who's had a really, really good season. And obviously these guys have been playing since they're 16. Well, let's face it, these guys are still young, but they've been playing in Europe since they were 16. And I mean, it's hard for guys like Wiggins who are in the spotlight at 17, coming out of high school, and then they're straight to college. They're playing at Kansas for Wiggins or Duke for Jabari. These guys don't have that hype. These guys don't have the pressure on them. I think it's a lot easier.
They've got a burden of expectation.
Yeah, definitely.
That's
why Embiid took a year out.
Yeah, that's why.
Same with Noel last year.
No, Noel took a year out because he couldn't shoot. That was the real reason.
Noel can shoot?
He can shoot now. He can shoot.
No.
Next year he's going to have Anthony Davis year.
No chance.
Yeah, he will.
Behave yourself.
This is one where we agree to disagree. For me, it's Mirotic. For Gavin, it's Andrew Wiggins.
And for me, it's Mirotic as well.
Mirotic.
I just leave Doc out. The two of you are clubbing up against me already.
Yeah, I just I know that that's a minority opinion. I know that he probably won't win it, but I think he has.
Because I'm wearing my suit.
So the next one we've got is most improved, and again we're talking about criteria. I think for me personally, the most improved player has to be a player whose improvement is unexpected. It's like it comes out of nowhere. It's not something that you can kind of project coming, which is why I think in most cases a player who is in their sophomore season tends never to win the rookie of the year. The most improved player, because you expect them to get better between their rookie season and the sophomore season.
Just when you were saying about a sophomore never win rookie of the year, Blake Griffin.
Oh well, there's debate about when his rookie year actually was.
Nellens Noel if he'd won it this year.
He's never going to win it this year.
I don't
Andrew
think.
Wiggins is too good.
So for most improved player, I pick another one again. I don't think he'll actually win it, but again a controversial choice. I'm going with my gut. For me, that's Reggie Jackson. And that's because his rise came out of nowhere for me. He had an opportunity early in the season when Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant were both injured to come in and play some minutes and ran the offense, I think, really well. He did put the ball about, he did distribute the ball, he did rack up assists, and he was a scoring point guard in the same, not in the same mould as Russell Westbrook, because nobody is in the same mould as Russell Westbrook. But
Westbrook's not in the same mould as Russell Westbrook.
But wait now, there's some of the Teenage Ninja and Mutant Ninja Turtles that are in the same mould as Russell Westbrook.
Well, that's true. Actually, he does have that prominent brow.
Deadpool.
But for me, that it's Reggie Jackson. He has this opportunity now that he's playing with the Detroit Pistons, that he's starting because Brandon Jennings is injured, and he's very exciting to watch. Actually, I've watched a couple of Pistons games. I would never have been caught dead with a Pistons game on my TV before they traded Josh Smith, but since they've got Reggie Jackson, they're a good team to watch. They're actually really, really entertaining, and I quite like watching them. And it's 100% because of Reggie Jackson zooming about the floor, being unpredictable, causing havoc, getting into the key and putting the ball about and scoring. He's really, really entertaining to watch, and I think that came out of nowhere. Like, there's no you couldn't even I don't even know what his previous season stats were, if he did enough to even have previous season stats. But he's came in, and I think he's a potential starter for the future. Not right away. I mean, there's time to go, because when Brandon Jennings comes back, he's not going to be starting spot anymore, potentially, unless they jigsaw up and Brandon Jennings maybe plays as a shooting guard. But my most improved player is Reggie Jackson.
Now, this may surprise some of you listeners out there. However, we don't always just go on the fly here. Sometimes we kind of know what people are going to say, we know what people are going to do. Like Dave said, we know each other inside out, we know what we're going to say, we know what our arguments are going to be for various topics. Reggie Jackson In stats, for starting point guards, falls into the lower half of point guards who get to the line. He also falls well into the lower half of point guards who field goal percentage or 3-point shots for point guards. Now, the game is changing. The game is changing to point guard. Well, not just point guards, but the game is changing to drive and dish. I don't want to generalise it that way.
You need to have a point guard that can score from everywhere on the floor.
You need a point guard who's going to score. Chris Paul can score anywhere.
To be
Russell
relevant,
Westbrook, Steph Curry, Derrick Rose to an extent has been improving his 3-point shot. Damian Lillard. Good point, Ryan.
Yeah.
Reggie Jackson doesn't do it for me. Now, bear in mind, I'm an OKC Thunder. I love Reggie Jackson. I thought he did a great job in the playoffs last year. I thought he was electric off the bench. I thought he was really impressive when Westbrook was injured earlier on this season. No, I can't do it. I sat and looked at it. The other guys that we've kind of got in mind, we said Klay Thompson, Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green.
Yeah.
Klay Thompson, we knew what he was about. He's one of the best scorers. He's one of the best shooting guards in the whole league.
My thing for that is that you expected there would be an improvement, and this is what I was talking about. That you expected Klay Thompson was good, and you knew he was going to get better. Jimmy Butler was good, you know he was going to get better. Potentially not to the extent. No, well, he was always going to. He always had the opportunity. He had the opportunity ahead of him, and even in the playoffs last season, he was becoming a bit more of a scorer. This is the first time I've ever seen him as their first offensive option, and he has improved maybe more than you would have expected him to improve. But you thought he would get better. He's still young.
You thought Reggie Jackson would improve as well. Like, Reggie Jackson was always a scorer. Like, that's the thing. Reggie Jackson was always a scorer. He was always a driver, disher. Jimmy Butler, for his career, he's been a defensive guy. You can't see me. I'm gesticulating. I don't do that all the time. But Reggie Jackson has always been a scoring point guard, driving point guard, and he gets the line. The problem is he never gets himself into position where he gets fouled. Like a guy like Lillard, like a guy like Curry, like a guy like Paul. My money, if I was going to put a bet on who's going to win Rookie of the Year, would go six man of the year, sorry.
Most improved?
MVP.
every single award.
Whatever the best mascot of the year.
Most improved
player of the year. If I was a betting man, my money will go on Jimmy Butler winning it. Money will go on.
I think he'll win it. Will win it as well, but he's not my heart's choice.
I've got to say Butler as well. Butler mainly. You've got Klay in there. Klay, you always expect him to get a little better every year. His defense this year and his offense, he's stepped it up. He's scoring, what was it? Was it 26 in how many minutes? Or how many in one quarter?
Oh, he broke the record for points in a quarter.
37 points in a quarter, like. But it's not. It's like you said. His defense is just terrifying.
Yeah, I mean both Klay Thompson and Jimmy Butler have that advantage as well, as that they play two ends of the floor. They don't just play offense. They don't just play defense.
Speaking of guys who play two ends of the floor, Draymond Green's
another one.
Who is a defensive specialist. We all agree with that.
Yeah.
But he's the ultimate utility guy.
Like 3-point shooter, miraculously as well.
Out of nowhere. Like, he came out when he was in Michigan. He could not shoot. He couldn't. He was like a fat, chubby kid. Basically, is what he was described as by his coach. Can't remember the name of the coach in Michigan. Really should. That's bad. But the guy's just turned into a linchpin for the league's best defense.
Yeah, I do accept that. And again, that's another one that maybe ticks the box of I wasn't expecting this guy to actually get this good this quickly. For Klay and Butler, you kind of did. I think Butler though has again the most measurable improvement because it's the most tangible improvement. And we were talking, was it from 1 point in his rookie year, 1.8 points per game to 13 points per game, and then up this season to 20 points per game. Is the most measurable increase. Both him and Klay Thompson have become all-stars.
He reminds me of what Paul George did.
Yeah, it's the most drastic and measurable, improvement in a player. So I think he will win it, and I think he's definitely a deserving winner.
The way that he's done that, he's not became the man on his team. So that shows you that he's not wanting to take all the responsibility on himself, and that's why I think he should possibly get the most improved. It's not that there's no one else on his team, like when Paul George was there, he was being the driving force behind his team. Jimmy Butler's not done that.
No.
He's fitted into the system, and he's shown that he can step up when he's needed. Not
with Pau Gasol on the team, with guys like Aaron Brooks, who we're going to discuss later on, but you guys like, I think the thing is like Jimmy Butler's the kind of guy who you need to pay. You need to pay to keep him, because you don't get guys who are two-way players. Jimmy Butler can play the 2 or the 3 as a two-way player, but he's scoring 20 points a game. How many other guys in the league can you say that can play those two positions and will do that? Him, Paul George.
Healthy Paul George.
Oh yeah, Paul George just now. Like, Paul George is coming back. Like, start next season. Paul George, I can tell you right now. I said to you the other day,
MVP next season.
MVP next season, Paul George.
I can't disagree with it now. I just I fear for his supporting cast. That's the only thing I'll say about that. But it's a conversation for a different.
Yeah. But those are the only two guys you can say. The only two guys that play 2 and the 3 and have the potential to play the 4 in a small ball lineup because of their size.
Tyreek Evans.
Who?
Tyreek Evans.
Tyreek Evans is not on that level.
No, but he can play. He can play the 2.
He can play the 2 or 3, but
he plays both ends of the floor. He doesn't play it to that same level, but maybe he's just not been given that chance yet. Maybe.
Well, I mean, you're talking these guys like Jimmy Butler's slightly smaller than Paul George, but Jimmy Butler, I think, has got to get it simply because he's in such a leap in scoring, rebounding, assists.
It's the most tangible improvement, I think.
Yeah.
My heart still says Reggie Jackson because
well, your heart's wrong.
It may be, but my heart.
It's 2v1, Dave. Give it up.
Okay, well,
I know.
I think Butler win it. My heart says Reggie Jackson, and it's just I like, you know what I'm like. I like an undersized point guard story.
We'll get more to those undersized point guard stories in just a minute.
Yeah, because the candidates we have for 6th man of the year, we'll move on to 6th man of the year now. And for me, my heart says Aaron Brooks. The danger, I'm really conscious of the danger of giving almost all of these awards to either the Golden State Warriors or the Chicago Bulls, as you'll see later on. But for me, Tibbs described Aaron Brooks as the most consistent player on that Bulls team. I've watched my fair share of Bulls games because they've been on TV so often, and you know that Aaron Brooks is going to get a couple of 3-pointers a game. You know he's going to get into the key and score, and he's stayed the 6th man, throughout the whole season, because the Bulls have always tended to favour Kirk Hinrich because they're replacement for Derrick Rose when he's been out of the lineup. So he comes off the bench, he's consistent, he does, he contributes.
Because of those cool glasses. Tibbs loves those cool glasses. He wants a pair.
I look at consistency over the whole season as well. I've never watched a game where Aaron Brooks has disappointed me, and right from the opening game against I think it was against the Cavaliers on their opening night, I've been like, wow, where's Aaron Brooks been for the past couple of years? The answer, he's been in China. Where's he been? Because he's just been like,
he's been made in China.
It's been a surprise that he's come back and actually been such an impact. Very, very good pickup for a Bulls team that really needed an offensive boost. So for me, it's Aaron Brooks. You've got Ryan has.
Yep. For me, again, another undersized point guard, Isaiah Thomas, just a beast for 2 different teams, playing some amazing basketball in 2 different conferences. Different challenges, 16.4 points per game, 4.2 assists, always a 6th man. He's that energizer off the bench when you really need him. Pretty much regular, almost double man. You're talking 6 to 8 assists every single game, hitting a lot of game winners, a lot of game sealers. That's what we do kind of forget. And just the fact that he's done it at the way he's done it as well. Being rejected from Sacramento, not being rejected by the Suns.
Talk about a player actually that I've got to play with a chip on their shoulder. I think Isaiah Thomas is one of them because he's been cut from a couple of NBA teams now.
Can we also mention the fact that he was the last pick in the draft of his year, 30th pick in round 2, and he's come out like this.
Yeah,
the guy's an absolute. He's a firecracker. Like, I'll be honest, like, I agree with you. I agree with both your points. Like, I think that Isaiah Thomas is one of the most exciting players in the NBA to watch. You see some of the wraparound passes, the guy's arms are like the size of my shins. Like, he's a really wee guy, but
he's been a key part of Boston pushing into that 7th seed as well.
Oh, definitely. He's been the driving force. I think you've got guys like,
he just reeks of creativity. I mean, he's he's had that run recently where he's been scoring again, 24, 26, 30, 34 points.
That career night to get them into that playoff hunt.
Yeah,
that shows you the kind of character of a man.
Yeah,
it really does.
And coming off the bench, I mean, he does play starters minutes. Aaron Brooks doesn't play starters minutes, and obviously doesn't have the same impact. He's very entertaining to watch as well. Just like I was talking about Reggie Jackson, he's Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas is very, very entertaining to watch because he's going to cause chaos. Just great. I don't know what Phoenix were doing when they took him from Sacramento.
I don't know what Sacramento were doing letting him go, because they've replaced him with Darren Collison, who Darren Collison's very quick, but yeah, I mean, he was good as Chris Paul's understudy when Chris Paul got injured in New Orleans, but then he went to the Clippers and they didn't really work out there. Went to Indiana, didn't really work out there. Went to Dallas, didn't really work out. He's kind of a guy who's playing as a starter who
isn't really
clearly should be a backup. Yeah. Do you know what I mean, guys?
And again, another thing about Isaiah going to the Celtics at the end of the day. Apparently, Danny Ainge always wanted him, wanted to draft him, didn't manage to draft him, and has been kind of keeping an eye on him all the way around the league, and finally managed to get him. So it's just a happy situation.
A good GM, by the way.
It's just a happy situation for him, and it shows in the way he plays basketball.
A lot of people will hate me for saying this, but Danny Ainge is a switched on GM. The fact that the Celtics have gone into full on rebuild mode and have still managed to make the playoffs, albeit in a much weakened Eastern Conference.
Yeah. They shouldn't really be in the playoffs.
No, but it says a lot to the fact that Danny Ainge has gone and drafted the way he's done, he's traded the way he's done.
He's accepted the fact that they need to go into full rebuilding, where other perennially good teams I wouldn't say the Knicks are a perennially good team, but they're a team where everyone expects them to do well, and the Lakers just seem to not be able to accept the fact that they need to start rebuilding.
Look at the guys he's brought in though. Like, he brought in Evan Turner, he brought in Tyler Zeller, he drafted James Young out of Kentucky, I believe James Young's out of. He played in the team with Julius Randle, and then also he's brought in Isaiah Thomas.
And that's the key for me, because he's just been like I say, he's just entertaining to watch. It's just really entertaining to watch. But for me, I think based on consistency, based on the fact that Aaron Brooks has done it for the whole season and comes in, like you say, and hits clutch shots and I'll give you a couple of threes and gives you instant offense off the bench. He's my sixth man of the year.
I could sit and blow Isaiah Thomas all night, but to be honest, Aaron Brooks is my sixth man. I think the fact is, although the Celtics made the playoffs, what Aaron Brooks does is more relevant.
Yeah, because he does it on it. Again, you're giving him the same edge as Mirotic, where he's doing it on a good team when in a relevant situation.
No, I'm not giving him the same edge.
Yeah,
as
well, okay.
We got 2v1 again.
Another mention in this, you've always got Jamal Crawford, perennial sixth man. But he's just been a bit too injured and a bit too
boring. Bit too old.
We don't care about Jamal Crawford. I'm sorry, right? It's voter fatigue. We don't care about Jamal Crawford.
He just won't win for that exact reason. It is voter fatigue. But
he's in danger of losing the best handles in the NBA to Steph Curry.
He's already lost it.
Steph Curry's incredible.
He's lost it. He's lost it. Kyrie's got better handles than Jamal Crawford.
He's got another teammate that's got better handles than him.
Chris Paul's got better. Blake Griffin's got better handles than him. DeAndre's got better handles than him.
I think another reason Jamal Crawford completely falls out of the conversation as well is because at the start of the season they were actually talking about trading him. They were talking about signing Ray Allen and trading him away.
He was supposed to be going to Memphis.
Yeah. There was chat about him going to Memphis. Well, it would have been incredible actually. Maybe
that would have been incredible.
Had that deal been done,
he maybe would have. But back to the conversation. But too injured, too much ambiguity about his role and all those kind of things. Drop him out that race. So it's between Brooks and Isaiah Thompson. I'm going to take Brooks. Thomas, God, sorry.
Can I just also point out something? It wasn't Ray Allen, it was Tony Allen they were trying to sign for Jamal Crawford.
That was part of the trade, but they were going to sign. There was talk of them signing Ray Allen because they needed the 3-point shooting.
Well, good job Memphis never let go of Tony Allen, otherwise he would never have got in the defensive player of the year race.
Yeah,
because Marcus Saul would have kept him out.
They were going to sign Ray Allen and then trade for Crawford because at the time JJ Redick wasn't shooting that well.
And plus
I changed around. JJ Redick did a really good season.
He has. He's turned it around.
I really like JJ Redick.
Aaron Brooks for me though, sixth man.
100%.
So I move up. Well, Ryan.
Yeah.
Ryan goes Thomas.
Yeah.
So next one's coach of the year. Couple of candidates for this one, and they've all got their own merits actually. So you've got Steve Kerr for Golden State Warriors, Budenholzer from Atlanta Hawks, Kevin McHale for the Houston Rockets, and I think we spoke about Dave Yeager.
Brad Stevens
For the Celtics.
Stevens,
who's had an absolutely unreal achievement for a college coach coming from Butler on a 7-year deal, by the way.
Yeah.
They need to throw that many years at him when you're asking to leave one.
Yeah, especially when you trade away all their players for draft picks.
You need to show him commitment.
Is no one bringing up Eric Spoelstra?
Oh, just forget about Eric.
Yeah. Let's just everyone forget about Alex Spoelstra for a minute. just actually not for a minute. Whole season.
Yep.
Whole next season.
When we've got David Yeager, who's a potential as well.
David Yeager. The problem with David Yeager is that David Yeager has inherited a very good team, but has not changed it in any way.
And they've still potentially got that same ceiling that they've always had, and it remains to be seen whether they can overcome that in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Jeff Green and Vince Carter are certainly an upgrade on OJ Mayo and Tayshaun Prince coming off the bench. I mean, OJ Mayo off the bench and Tayshaun Prince starting, but Dave Yeager can't win it.
No, Dave Yeager, it hasn't changed enough.
No,
you can't. It's hard to measure his impact on the team, and this is Coach Steer's one that does have a criteria for it, a more kind of stringent type criteria. It's the coach who has had the biggest positive influence on his team over the course of the season. So David Yeager doesn't have a measurable impact on his team, so he falls out of the race for me.
Yeah, for me, I would have to say Budenholzer, just for the fact that he's got that Atlanta Hawks team for scraping the playoffs last season to where they are now, where no one in their right minds would have ever would have said they were going to be there.
Who's going to win the East, Atlanta Hawks? No, you would never have said that.
No. That coming out of the mouth just doesn't even roll off the tongue. It just doesn't get there. So for me, it's Budenholzer, but a really, really big mention for Brad Stevens for what he's done there at Boston, and I hope next season with his draft picks, with every draft pick that he has, which is pretty much every one of them, he'll have an even better season next one.
See, I've got an argument against Budenholzer, and it doesn't come down to Budenholzer himself, but it comes down to the Atlanta Hawks being perennial underachievers. Now, it's not down to coaching, it's not down to anything. I mean, I understand that Mike Budenholzer has had a difficult time this season, particularly with Danny Ferry being fired, etc., or leaving, or whatever the situation was there. However, having Al Horford back for a full season, Al Horford is one of the best big men in the NBA.
He's always been a bit injured as well, so this is the first time you've
had a full season of Al Horford, and you're having a Josh Smith ruining stuff. You get Paul Millsap, who is one of the most underrated power forwards in the. He's that underrated. He's now overrated. Like, he's an all-star in the East. He wouldn't even touch it. He wouldn't even get the ballots in the West. But I think that the team, the identity the Atlanta Hawks have is very good.
They've brought Spurs basketball, and the Spurs system and playing selflessly and throwing the ball about and not having one to go to guy. They've adopted that that style and brought it to Atlanta.
But it's over another team.
Yeah, no, that's true.
They've also you also didn't mention Cal Korver, how up until the kind of all-star votes and the actual game itself was in there for maybe being an all-star this year, and just how he was almost in a club of his own of the 40-50.
Yeah.
He was an all-star.
yeah, but like he was flirting with that 40-50-90. I couldn't honestly say if he achieved
50-50-90.
50-50-90.
Oh, that was a club. That's true. That would have been a club on himself. There's nobody that's done that. Did he do it in the end?
He didn't do it.
Steve Kerr did it but didn't qualify.
Yep.
Not enough minutes played or something. Yeah.
Not enough free throws.
Not
enough shots taken.
Yep.
The standout for me, we've spoken. I think Budenholzer is a good shout. Kevin McHale, I think we can drop Kevin McHale out of the race as well.
I kind of dropped him out earlier on, mainly with the fact that he's a big man. He is not getting his big man.
He's not. Big man. He has not had any measurable impact on Dwight Howard's ability to play at the offensive end of the floor, which is shocking. The reason that Dwight Howard went there was because he was going to be mentored by Kevin McHale. He had access to Hakeem Olajuwon. He wanted to learn more of an offensive game, and it's just not happened.
Can I throw it out there now? That's not Kevin McHale's fault.
It's not Kevin McHale's fault. That is true.
No, it's not.
Kevin McHale's the only guy who Kobe Bryant didn't like. Now I know Kobe Bryant doesn't like a lot of players.
But when I saw him in Grantland, I bought completely into what he said about Dwight Howard. Is like when they're trying to foster a winning.
You want to win,
culture.
like if you. My thing is, see if I'm that good a player, right? If I was 6'10", 6'11", 7 foot, whatever Dwight Howard is, right, and I was that athletic ability, I would want to be the best of all time. I would want to be the best. I would want to do this.
And he's never wanted it. Clearly, he just has never seemed like he's dedicated to achieving. Will he ever win a title?
Will he ever win anything? Like, he was a very good defensive player, but is he going to win anything more significant than defensive player of the year? No, he's not, because he gets overshadowed by a player who was, I don't want to say written off by the Oklahoma City Thunder. They knew what they had. It was just a tough
situation, and they made a call.
But Dwight's not the player he was. He never will be the player he was, and that's the thing. You're going to get a very good rebounder. I think a decent. He's only blocking 1.5 shots a game this season. That's for a big man. That's not acceptable.
For a big man, the kind of athleticism and size that Dwight Howard has, that's not enough. We need more. We need the old Superman back. Will he ever come back? No, he's flown away. He's gone. He's gone. He left as soon as he went to Lakers.
That was a lovely analogy.
For the purposes of me being consistent in the way that I argue, for anybody who doesn't know why, a couple of years ago when the Heat were doing really well and LeBron James won one of his MVP awards, the chat was that Eric Spoelstra was also the coach of the year, and I argued, vehemently, passionately, that it can't be both of them. If you're saying that one reason for them having success is because they've got the best coach in the league, but another reason for them having success is that they've got the best player in the league, I think it's really difficult to argue both of those things at the same time, because one person's success invariably will take away from another person's success. So for the Rockets, is it Kevin McHale that's the reason for them being so good, or is it James Harden?
On that point by Dave, he was wrong. And we're going to tell you right now. And aside from Ryan, me and Dave both agree in this. Am I right?
That LeBron James didn't deserve to win that MVP that year, or what?
Lies. All lies.
That Steve Kerr deserves to get the coach of the year.
I think he does deserve to get coach of the year, but I was just trying to knock Kevin McHale out of the race first to make it, to deduce, cut this down and to make it a deduction that Kevin that Kerr that should be the coach of the year.
It's Kerr or Budenholzer. That's the thing. It's always going to come down to those two. We've argued about this constantly, all day. We've argued about this.
Yeah. For me, it's Steve Kerr.
You do not understand the recordings we've gone through.
The number of takes, the heartbreak of one not working. But yeah, for me it's Steve Kerr. He's bringing to the table the mentality, the experience of being coached by Greg Popovich and Phil Jackson as well, two of the best coaches in living memory, and two Hall of Fame basketball coaches. So he's bringing experience he's bringing parts of both of their expertise to the Golden State Warriors. He's managed to improve their defense without actually sacrificing the potency of their offense at all, which is a hell of an achievement. But there's an undertone of the same thing when it comes to Steph Curry being involved as well. Is it that Steph Curry got them there? Is it because they have a really, really good roster that he inherited? I mean, there's not been he's upgraded the bench, but he's not.
No, but he's got them to gel. That's the thing. He's got them to gel.
He's brought a championship caliber, championship pedigree to that team where none existed before.
He's brought that whole, to use a really bad word, but he's brought that winningness to the team. I think as well the big difference between them is, like, Mark Jackson, I think, felt, I need to start Andre Iguodala.
Because he's Andre Iguodala.
Because and let's I'm not going to say a bad word about AI, because since, I don't know, probably you're talking since 2000, has there been a better point forward? Maybe Lamar Odom, but
he's been the anti All-Star really though, because he does it. He fulfills a role rather than being an All-Star.
Yeah,
Andy's been an All-Star, but Andy's been an All-Star. Like, that's the thing.
And he's been picked every single year for in recent. Well, since is it 2004 when he's always been on Team USA.
And I think that's the thing. You've got guys like Iguodala playing there, who they bring Iguodala off the bench. You've got Sean Livingston. These are guys that Steve Kerr has spoken to GM about. Because bear in mind, Steve Kerr, as much as he was a horrible GM, he was dealing with the.
Some people think he was a good GM, but I personally don't.
No, I mean that's what I'm saying. Like you, that's what I was saying. You may think he's a bad GM, but a lot of people don't realise that he was dealing with the absolute train wreck that was Robert Sarver.
Yeah, Robert Sarver wasn't a good owner, and that hurt.
So
it's completely different now, though, that he's got his fingerprints on the actual coaching.
And he's coaching well. He's brought in his own team. Again, something people say, oh no, but he's not doing it himself.
He's got a gentry. I think a good manager knows what he can do, he knows what he can't do, and he plugs the gaps.
Understands his limitations.
Yeah, and Steve Kerr has done that. He's brought Alva Gentry in to run his offense for him. He's brought I can't remember for the life of me the name of the guy, but he's brought another
the defensive coach.
He's got a defensive coach. He's got a guy on either shoulder who knows their craft maybe a little bit better than he does, and then he's bringing that the decision making and the Greg Popovich and the Phil Jackson to it, and coaching on the floor that way. It's just he's set it all up, geniusly, and I think it has a great impact on the way that they play. It remains to be seen though for both Atlanta and the Golden State Warriors, Steph Curry and Budenholzer, whether they can do it in the playoffs.
Could I make a wee comment that I didn't think of until then? Notice when you look at Golden State play, they play more Popovich than they play Jackson. Jackson, like, just a point on the Knicks, Derek Fisher, Phil Jackson, it doesn't work anymore.
No, I disagree, because I think a lot of people confuse what the San Antonio system, inverted commas, is. A lot of the time they're playing triangle basketball. It's not Phil Jackson's specific sets that they run off the triangle, but they're running their own sets off the triangle. They do a strong side triangle, and when the ball goes down to the weak side, they form another triangle.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying they're going pop, whereas Derek Fisher's trying to go old school Phil Jackson.
But Pop is just doing his own version.
Yeah.
Derek Fisher needs to, or has tried his own style of coaching, and it's not worked this year. But he's no pieces.
Let's move on, because we're going to end up just arguing about different. Yeah. This is the problem we've got, because we end up going in tangents, because we always end up arguing about different shit, and
it's good to record it so we're actually policing ourselves when we go off on tangents.
Yes.
For me, Coach of the Year, my heart again. Because of the way they play, I would like to see Budenholzer win it, just because of the style and it's a different philosophy of basketball than the Spurs have it, the Atlanta Hawks have it. The Warriors kind of have it, but there is more personality to their team than individual personalities to their team than the other two. But it's the way that basketball 67 wins. It's the way basketball should be played, so I wouldn't be heartbroken if Budenholzer won it. I think Steve Kerr is the Coach of the Year, though. I think he has had head and shoulders the biggest impact on his team than any other coach. So for me, it's Steve Kerr.
So MVP.
Yeah, MVP, the big one. But hopefully, Ryan, there will be some debate on this one, actually, because the danger of this one is that in the past maybe week it has ran away. It has gone a little bit away from being a dead heat race.
Have you guys seen the first take?
I haven't seen
MVP.
I haven't seen it. No.
We'll watch it after this podcast. However, first time I've seen the two guys agree.
The first time I've seen them both, they do agree something.
No, on an award.
For me, the MVP is Steph Curry, and it's because of consistency. And I am completely aware of the hypocrisy of 2 years ago me saying that you can't possibly have Eric Spoelstra and LeBron James both winning these awards, because it has to be one or the other.
It's not hypocrisy if you just admit, look, I was wrong at the time.
But I wasn't wrong at that time.
No, I mean, I was wrong at the time in the concept. It can happen. It's just not right this year.
Yeah, if it's 67 wins, the 3 wins off the all-time record, which Phil Jackson coached them to. Not a coincidence that Steve Kerr's gotten close to it. They've thrown a game against the Pelicans in order to get a more favourable playoff matchup as well. They could have had 68, and then you've got you bring close losses into that. They could have had the record. They're very margin error is razor thin there for them to have either matched or beaten the all-time record. And Steph Curry's had a massive hand in that, because in 16 occasions he's played so well through the first 3 quarters that he's not had to play a minute in the fourth quarter. But when he does have to play in the fourth quarter, he lights it up. He is so clutch. He'll throw, he gives people an absolute matchup nightmare. You can't defend him at all. that's not everyone's view though. That I mean, James Harden was in this race right up until the end there. So
Yeah, for me, it's James Harden. It is James Harden. You've got 2nd in points, Harden, 6th in points, Curry, 9th in assists, Harden, 7th in assists, Curry, 6th in steals, Harden, 4th in steals, Curry. Yes, I know Harden's steals, they come in guesses, blind guesses.
it's
A
not-
lot of the time, he does have some good positioning, but his defense is terrible. We all know that.
To be fair, Rondo's 3 steals a game all came from just Rondo being a gambler. So
and we say he's
fair
a
enough.
good defender. Yeah.
Well, we tried to say we were wrong, but
But for me, the way that Harden has single-handedly basically just led that Houston Rockets team into second and into, okay, maybe not the best position against the first round, which we'll get in a bit later on, but to have that kind of season when you're the guy who's been traded away from OKC, and yes, he does have something to
I
prove,
mean, and a chip on his shoulders as well.
but
definitely.
But yeah, just I think Harden takes it for me. He's that guy that you do want to watch every single night, no matter where he plays. Steph Curry, if he goes to a different team, will he still be Steph Curry? Yes, he will be. Will he still be as effective? He'll be shooting threes for days. Yes, he will. But is he going to get open
He's the
enough?
best 3-point shooter I've ever seen.
He's the best shooter in the NBA history.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything just like
No,
the way he
no.
takes some of his shots. The argument for James Harden is the cast that he's got around him as well. He's not got a good team around him.
No, he's
Steph Curry
got
has
a
good
nothing
team around him.
cast. He's got a nothing cast.
Which we'll get into a bit later on.
However, here's where it gets interesting. Look, you bring up the stats for the points, assists and steals, right? Like I have said in the past, I put a lot of stock into what the great Skip Bayless says. And Skip Bayless came out with a stat the other day when I was watching one of the first take episodes. Now, what it basically says is that Steph Curry, off the floor for Golden State, they outscored their opponents by 0.6 points, 1.6 points, 0.6. When Steph Curry's on the floor, they outscore their opponents by 16.
I mean it's just a bit
does-
mind-boggling.
Yeah, but
Like-
does that tell you that Steph Curry is that good, or does that tell you his replacement is not that good?
Well,
His
It's that thing.
replacement, Sean Livingston.
Well,
Sean Livingston's one of the.
Livingston's a very good ball handler, which Dirk Nowitzki probably knows a little bit all too well. But is he that great of a scorer? Good defender, but maybe not.
he's long. I like him actually. He's got a little corkscrew jumper that he always seems to be able to hit.
My
with
favourite,
guards that are smaller.
our favourite shot of Golden State Warriors. Fuck your 3-point shot. It's Sean Livingston going into the post.
He take it into the post and do this wee kind of corkscrew.
It's beautiful.
move, just because he's got longer arms and he's taller.
Makes Kobe look like an amateur.
No,
But well, okay, he doesn't. I was talking about my cat. No,
but yeah,
if I'm honest, like Steph Curry plays
for consistency's sake as well. I think
Yeah.
you've been saying that Steph Curry's the MVP all season. I wrote my MVP list in the end of November that has Steph Curry at the top of it, and he's been there the whole time. And he's maybe fallen out of sight because people are just a bit bored actually of how good he's been for me. And I'm not pigeonholing James Harden. But he wasn't even on my list, and my list isn't their list.
Your
Just
list was wrong at the start of the season though. Like, it was
It wasn't
wrong.
wrong for Steph Curry, but James Harden wasn't in it. Dwight Howard
No,
was in it
because you had-
he
you
a
had-
better first month of the season, and it was after only 1 month of basketball, and at the time James Harden hadn't played his way into that top 10. Since then he's came and he's definitely had higher scoring games than Steph Curry, and he's done it.
As we can say, it's not all about the numbers he's putting up. It's the drive that he's shown that team.
Look, Steph.
He's dragged his team kicking and screaming. A team that's not actually a very good team, and has no business being. Is it second seed?
Second.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But at the end of the day, Steph is the driving force on the number one team in the NBA, which would have been number one team in the NBA and back until 1997.
A lot
Are
of
we
years.
talking?
A lot of
96?
years it would have been the best.
Like, I mean, Steph Curry. Plus, I mean, I know this has nothing to do with the MVP race, but you said that you enjoy watching James Harden more than else. I think most people would agree that what Steph Curry is the most enjoyable player.
I think he's the most entertaining player to watch because I just don't know what he's going to do. I don't know where he's going to pull up from. I don't know what's
where he's
happen.
going to pass. He'll go for a layup and then all of a sudden wrap his hand around DeAndre Jordan and like pass out to Klay Thompson, who'll shoot the three. But no one else has seen this passes on. Like it's terrifying. Like I've not seen anyone with the ability that Steph Curry has. Like.
Other notables in this race were up until recently Russell Westbrook. You think he falls out of contention because they haven't made the playoffs, and he tapered off towards the end of the season.
And he became very, very self-indulgent in his triple-double machine that he wants to be, and he is.
Again, there's debate around whether that was. I feel that was. I'll buy into what Stephen A says about that rather than what Skip Bayless says about it. I think he did that because he genuinely believes that he's the best way to win, and winning is the most important thing to him. I don't think he's a stat stuffer. I don't think he's just chasing awards.
Russell Westbrook. You all know that I'm a Thunder fan.
Yeah.
You all know I love Westbrook. You all know that I love Durant more. But my thing is that Westbrook's mentality is we've got to win this game. That's all it is.
And he genuinely always believes that he is the best way to go about doing that. I don't know if he's wrong. You can't say he's wrong because he's incredible.
Well, he doesn't give him a chance. That's what we can say he's wrong.
But he still gets 10. He still gets like 10 when he's scoring those triple doubles. He's still getting 10 assists a game. So he's
also getting 18 rebounds for a point guard.
Yeah. Well,
are you Jason Kidd?
Yeah, he's
getting scoring 90 points.
He's getting. In the same kind of vein, Harden's getting good numbers for a guy his size and for a guy on a team that is big.
Westbrook's 3 inches smaller than him, and is absolutely dominating every category.
Supremely athletic. Yeah. I think Russell Westbrook just drops off it because they didn't make the playoffs, and I would still struggle to put him in the same conversation as Steph Curry and James Harden.
No, he
hadn't
doesn't
made the playoffs.
He's not. No,
he's tapered off in the past few weeks. The other one that was talked a lot about, LeBron James, which for me was farcical right from the get go.
As a LeBron fan, I gotta agree. I put LeBron 5th this year. He's behind
Davis.
He's behind Westbrook. I put Westbrook at 4 and Davis at 3. That's my top 5.
I agree with that. Steph Curry's at top.
I can agree with it. But I'd put Westbrook ahead of Davis.
I think Davis will get it just for me, just this once, because they made the playoffs and they didn't.
No, my thing is like the difference is like Davis didn't have a completely crocked supporting cast.
Yeah.
Westbrook's run at the end of the season was without Ibaka, without Durant, playing without Steven Adams.
Who's got Cantor? Cantor's really good season.
But Cantor can't
really
defend.
That's true.
Can't defend.
I think we're all happy at least that Russell Westbrook got something for his efforts.
Yeah. Scoring title, it was very deserving.
Yeah, but again,
OKC owns that scoring title, by the way.
I know, it's just they say they cannot draft wrong. I think James Harden was the second in that race as well.
Yeah, he was.
You need Steven Adams to get a scoring title or last.
Sam Presti,
next season,
GM of the century.
Your most improved. Is he going to get a scoring title? Reggie Jackson?
Let's see. Okay, so at the end of the day, for consistency and for the sake of how well he played all season and for the sake of the overall record of the Golden State Warriors, I'd say Steph Curry.
Yeah. So that brings us to the end of this soiree.
Yep, that brings us to the end of that. We will the next podcast that we're going to do is on the playoff brackets. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully it didn't go off too much on a tangent for you. This is going to be up on YouTube. We have a Facebook, we have a Twitter. So if you follow, just subscribe, do whatever, share it. Let's get this spread around a bit and tell us what you think.
Yeah.
Tell us what you think of these awards. Tell us if you think we're wrong. Tell us your picks. Tell us what you think.
Make sure you comment. Make sure you call us, because
call us out on wrong facts as well, because that does happen sometimes where you think you know something. It turns out that you're just a little bit wrong in facts. So call us out for that as well. But thanks very much for listening, and be in touch soon with our next debate. Okay, thanks very much, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.